as flutists, we all go through this process, and probably more than once, lots of times in our life. Thank you so much for the introduction. It's been a pleasure for me to work in orchestra in the I'm currently actually very young, so the last 5 years. And I wanted to talk a bit about this, the way I work with my students. I'm not teaching in any place, any university, but I'm teaching in a private studio, and most of my students are very luckily studying in Germany with amazing flute professors. And normally the work we do, it's only this, the orchestral auditions preparation. So most of the work is done online, because most of the time, or I'm in Madrid or I'm in Vienna, so it's a bit complicated to do it, but there is a few techniques that I wanted to share with you, and I don't want to take you lots of time. I know it's a Sunday and there is the afternoon ahead for everyone. So I will try to be brief, and please let me know if something I say it's not clear, not just because of my English that sometimes can be not so clear, but about the kind of work. So taking as a first step, when you go to audition, you have, of course, as we all know, to practice the repertoire and the orchestra solos, the excerpts, or the or your Mozart concertos, whatever they will ask you. It depends where you go, or your Reper concertos, the TS Sonatine, or Vivaldi concerto. First of all, we are very clear that we have to practice this as we practice our repertoire. What I work with my students after they do this where they are studying, it's the, let's say, the simulation process, which depends for every person, of course. In orchestral audition, they expect you to play it right on the first trying, and sometimes your first round will be about, I would say, a few seconds. Sometimes you don't have always the Mozart concerto and an excerpt, or 2 or 3. Sometimes I already auditioned in places that the first round was 2 excerpts, and sometimes went good, sometimes went really bad, because it's really short time to and to do the best you can. So I understood a few years ago, also working, I had the pleasure of studying with Jackson, which played in amazing orchestras. In US, he played in Boston Symphony, I think in the 90s, but also in Concertgebouw and other orchestras in Europe. And briefed me and he talked me a lot about this process, which depends in each person. But after we have all of the things, let's say, practiced, and it doesn't mean we have to practice them again and go back, but let's say it depends on everyone. I would say, let's say that 7 days before, 5 days, 10 days, this is the way everyone feels needs this simulation. Maybe some people need 2 days. I always think for myself that I need like more than 5 days, 6, 7. There's people that probably need more, because I always like to simulate and have time after the simulation to make it right, to correct things. Maybe I do simulations, I record myself, and I feel I'm struggling with something, I have to go back to practice. So this is a thing that I cannot tell you. You have to do this here. This is a thing that you have to find for yourself, this timing, which is very important. And then that's the moment I start working with my students. And the first thing I always ask them to do, it's every time that you make a simulation, whatever it is to play, let's say that you are doing all of the audition or just the first round or whatever you have to play, always record yourself, even if it is with a mobile phone, whatever. It's not about the quality of the recording. Of course, if you have a good recorder, use it. But if you don't have, whatever, just to make you feel the pressure that you are recording yourself. Because if you simulate at home, which is very nice, but without any kind of pressure, this will not work. Or maybe it works a bit, but it's not so, the effect is not so strong, I would say, because in audition you will feel nervous. Someone is listening to you. So I always say to my students that with the time going on, you can do lots of auditions. I already did lots of auditions. Some went good, some went really bad. We all have these moments. It's for everyone. It's really for everyone. So we have to be clear that this can happen. So for me, it's very, very important that we always take, let's say, the room or the concert hall, because you can play your audition in a rehearsal room of the orchestra, in the concert hall, in a small room, whatever, it can happen, to take the pressure of that moment to own, because I don't believe, and this depends on the people, that you will get more calm because you did lots of auditions. Of course, you will get experience and you will start understanding better the things. You'll start playing more often, the same excerpts, Mozart, whatever you have to play. But the thing is, I would say that you don't get more calm. What I always tell them is you get more calm, not because you do it a lot or just the experience you have. It's you have to bring the pressure, and it's not a nice ambience. No, the audition room, this not nice ambience and this pressure to your room, to your practice room, even in the school, at home, whatever. This will make you, if you put your pressure on the simulation process that you have in the audition room, when you arrive to the audition room, it will be another Monday, another Tuesday. Of course, you will always get a little nervous. We'll go through that. That's why I always ask them, and we do this thing of always recording ourselves. And here it starts. Sorry for this introduction. I will try to be brief in the techniques or exercise. Here it starts our work, which is this one that I told you, always record yourself. Most of the time you'll be on, so record yourself. Sometimes you can be in your school, whatever. You can be in lots of places, actually. If you are in a school, you have colleagues, you have friends there, you can ask them to listen to you. It's very important when they listen to you in your room and you do the simulation, you also record yourself so you can listen later. And one of the things that Jack did with us lots of times, it's when someone is playing, you would ask the other people to make some kind of noise with their feet, with whatever, opening a newspaper, making a call, something ring on the mobile phone, getting in, getting out, because in the process of an audition, everything can happen. So you can be playing, even if you have a curtain or a wall, someone can drop a pencil behind the screen, and this will disturb you. So we practice to do these simulations after everything is practiced. We practiced on the way that some noise will bother you. I already did auditions in down floors that were ambulance passing outside or cars passing, and everything was really noisy. This can happen. So this is the first thing. If you can do it at home recording, you can do it for colleagues, but ask your colleagues to ask the excerpts by themselves, so not by order, because you can arrive there and they ask not for the order you're counting. They can change that. They can ask you a different tempo, which it depends on the conductor and the orchestra. They can change that. So you will feel what it can happen there. This is the thing that you cannot do every day, of course, because if you have really great friends that are patient enough for you, but you can also do the recording at home and put yourself through this. Then another thing that we do a lot, which I ask them, you can do by yourself, you don't need other people. It's before you do your simulation, your first round, let's just imagine that you have, for the first round, you have to play Mozart, G major concerto, and I don't know, Debussy prelude. Let's say this. You are just going to simulate these two moments, because this doesn't work for a large moment. And for these two moments, I always ask my students to, at home, of course, recording, to put how do I say, sorry, to accelerate their heartbeat on any way. Of course, you can do some, if you have a bicycle at home, these bicycles, I don't know the name, that don't move, or if you can just, sorry, jump for a little bit or do some kind of exercise, or just move yourself in a way that the heartbeat will raise. And then when you feel your heartbeat really fast, then you're going to simulate whatever you need. You can also use this in your pieces that you play in university, whatever, but it works better in small moments, like in excerpt. So you raise your heartbeat, and then you simulate. So this will give you the idea when you are in audition, everyone or gets nervous and the heartbeat raises, or it can happen. Some people are more calm, they start really nice, but then they miss a note or the intonation is not there. And for all of us, what it starts to happening is we get panic and our heartbeat starts to get very intense. And that's why auditions sometimes start good and then they just go down and down because of this. So the way we try to fight this, it's to bring a problem of the audition room to our practice room. If we are able to manage, of course, we don't have to do this every day, of managing the accelerated heartbeat playing, this will probably happen. As I was saying before, we will always be nervous or a bit nervous. It depends on the people playing the flute, because it's our passion. So if you are passionate about something, you always feel a bit nervous. You always feel like you want to do it good. For example, if I ask someone, or someone asks me to bake a cake or just make a coffee on a machine, you don't get nervous because actually you don't care a lot. The coffee can come a bit better, but you just take it. But when it's something that you're passionate about, which is the flute, you will always get a bit nervous. The thing is, your nervous system in the audition, if you train this, when it gets, the heartbeat goes a bit faster, instead of your brain, your nervous system getting the idea of panic, they will get just, they will get this, but they will have a way of understanding that this is normal. Because I've been doing this home. It's like as we practice at home, that's why we use a mirror, because if we play with our hands like this or like this, we're going to play like that in stage. Everything we do home goes to the stage. It's the same. We'll go there, our heartbeat will raise in any, it can raise or no, it depends. We're practicing the moments that have to be, we have to fight, because the good moments for sure will be nice, but this kind of moments, if we do that, our brain will just keep giving normal signals, even to our face muscles, to our fingers, to everything in our body that we need to work. We need to make it work. So this is a good way we do stimulations. Also, I always recommend to my students to always do the simulations, even the practicing, in this case, in different rooms, more dry rooms. And even if you choose in your university to do it on a bathroom, which is horrible acoustic, no, it's really loud, but just try to have an idea of that will not happen. But in a concert hall, of course, with lots of reverberation of the hall, you will need to articulate better. Of course, you will have the good thing of maybe your end of notes, phrasing, diminuendos will help a bit, but it will not help you with articulation, these things. So you also practice different lengths of articulation. You also practice different ways of ending your notes, because if you're in a really dry room, you have to take it until the end. So we do this kind of work. Normally during these simulations, I always ask my students to keep doing every day, to keep drinking the same amount of water, to keep hydrating in the same way. This will not prevent you 100% of getting your throat or your mouth dry. This can happen, and that's why we work on this accelerated heartbeat for that reason. So to make it, because this will happen, some people with accelerated heartbeat get their mouth dry, and we'll go to that, but this prevents a bit that, it helps a bit. So you do the same amount of water every day, the same way you sleep the same amount of hours. If you need to sleep 8 hours a day, you just sleep that, because after simulations, or even if after one simulation you feel that you have to practice this passage or whatever, it's when you sleep that your brain will absorb all of the information that you gave him. And if you want to give him information about the simulation, you have to memorize that. You want to be really on top performance level, that you know that you will play this extract has to come out on the first performance, because for everyone it comes perfect at the second or third, but it has to come out on the first one. This will be good because it makes you it makes you how can I say, it makes your brain absorb the information as the same time every night. If you go to sleep always the same amount of time during these simulations, you have always the same amount of time to absorb this, to record this, everything you did. Other thing that I always ask them is to do the simulations sometimes when they, of course, you're always recording whatever it comes out and you're always listening to it, but do it in early morning, even if you don't play a note, without warming up. This will be really uncomfortable for your embouchure, for everything in your body. But really, you can jump out of bed and just put your flute together and do it. This is an exaggeration of, it's not because in some auditions you have less or more time to warm up, but it's an exaggeration because sometimes in audition, due to whatever it can happen in the room, that's why I was talking, or the mouth gets dry, or there is air condition, or whatever that makes the room dry and you don't feel comfortable on your embouchure. If you practice a bit like this, you don't need to do it every day, but you have this feeling at home, this will not be a panic, because it already happened to me, and for sure for lots of people already happened, that you play in a concert or in audition or whatever, and you don't just feel right, or in your embouchure something is not right. And it's a good way of realizing that you have another system that can kick in and, let's say, save yourself. Let's say, for example, you have some solo that you have to play pianissimo in high register, like Todd und Verklarung, Strauss. There are some excerpts that you have to play really pianissimo. If you can manage a way, of course, probably the note will drop to the other octave or to some ghost weird sound. But if you can realize that even with the problem here, without comfort, without feeling yourself, oh, I practiced all day, now it's amazing. This will help you realize that you can also use your airstream, your air pressure, your support, and save the situation. So, for example, if this happens in audition, that you're not so comfortable for any reason, whatever, you're not in a good day, there is another system that will, let's say, kick in and save the note, or save this, or save that. This is a situation that can happen. And if it happens and we don't do this, you will get panic. It's like the heartbeat. Because if you play always comfortable at home, and of course you have to play comfortable, but if you play always, and it comes something new for you, like embouchure, like not fingers, like I just woke up from bed, or the heartbeat, or whatever it can happen, or your throat, something is different from home, you will always get a nervous system reaction of panic. And we don't want, will not always be able to avoid the panic, the nervous. Even with lots of years with experience, it will always come a bit to us. The thing is how to manage it, how to make this panic be just another Monday, or another Tuesday or Wednesday, just kind of normal day. This is not work that we do every day like insane. Of course, there's more things to do, but it helps a lot, saving some situations that can happen in audition, to make you, of course, you have to do all of the practicing. Real, everyone already knows that, and know whatever you're playing. You can play with recordings, you can do all of this that already everyone knows. But we do a bit of this work, which is a bit more like, doesn't look very artistic, looks a bit more sports, on the sports level, let's say, looks a bit more on the scientific level. But the thing it prevents, and I've been checking with the students lots of times, it's everyone since young will get a bit nervous, and this is helping to fight some moments or to feel more, since you arrive to a place that, oh, now it's the audition. But I was the last 2 weeks playing for people, recording myself. I'm okay, I feel good, I slept good, I hydrate myself good. All of this work I did, and I feel quite good about it. Oh, my heartbeat raised, but I've been working with my heartbeat already up. My embouchure is not on this yet, but I've been working also like this, so nothing is new. And I always think the auditions or problem is it's new. We arrive there and it's everything new. And that's what we try to avoid. And lots of things I learned with Jack was that, like trying to avoid surprises. They will always happen a bit. We never know. Also other things that we work a lot about the acoustic of the room, which is very important, because sometimes you don't know where you're playing. I already had auditions that I didn't know where I was playing, and I was really surprised. For example, in US, for a Philadelphia orchestra, I don't remember when, it was, I had to play, it was, I don't know, many years ago, it was lots of years ago, but I had to play this pre-round to be able to go to an audition, and I had no idea that the pre-round was already in the big hall. I never imagined, I thought it's a pre-round, so they are going to select the people that don't have quite a curriculum yet, are not working yet, are studying. So probably they will put a little room. They will not put even all of the panel, and they put all of the panel in a big hall, which was surprising and scaring at the same time. So sometimes we know, I already had auditions that I went with friends that told me, oh, it will be in a room that is like this or like that. But sometimes, because they already had auditioned there before, sometimes you don't know if it will be a curtain. Sometimes they tell you, sometimes they don't. And I think that we work lots of times. It's not just playing in different acoustics, but when you walk, it depends, of course, in the kind of shoes, because I believe you play an audition in black or kind of suit or something, and we always use black shoes. And one of the things that I noticed that helped me is walking on a stage on shoes that everyone is quiet, because in a concert we play with orchestra and people clap when we get in, so you don't listen to this noise. I don't believe in audition they will clap when you get in, so the silence will let you, while you walk, you listen your steps. And sometimes you can have an idea, or you feel the room, or you feel the noise while you're walking. It depends on the kind of floor. Of course, if it is a stone floor, it's not the same, but normally it's wooden floors, and you can listen, I will not say all of them, but let's say that more than half of them. And you can listen to the reverberation coming from that noise. Or maybe someone behind the curtain says good morning, or says hello, or please play this or play that. Of course, you listen to that, but also try to listen on the other way, because then can show you, if it is a bigger concert hall, you look to it and you already know this will not be dry, but we never know. Sometimes we're like a bit scared, we don't know. It's a rehearsal room, but sometimes it looks, oh, okay, this will be nice, but the upper part is a bit down, so it's very tiny. And normally when it's not so large, but it's very, the length is very big. I would say that we have an idea, this will be nice, and it's very dry. So this helps you. Someone will tell you hello, whatever, and this will make reverberation in the room or no. And also you'll realize, okay, if I'm playing this excerpt, I remember from my practicing that if there is a bit of, I have to articulate better. I have to do this. Of course, this is not a method that, yes, it will work for you. You will get the next audition. You're done. It's done. But it needs practicing. Of course, it fails like other methods. But I always felt when I did this work, and also when I did with the students, that the results came better. Not always, of course. Most of them didn't come so right. We already know that we'll listen more no's than yes, always in our careers. But they came a bit more right. Just a last tip, because you're probably already tired to listening to me on a Sunday. Just last tip. I always recommend to my students a thing that a friend of mine once recommended me. Not this work that you already know of listening, whatever you're playing, you know whatever you're playing, Debussy, you know why it starts in a C sharp. If you play Leonore, you know that in the fast solo you're playing in a dialogue with the bassoon, whatever. Of course, you have to know all of this before this process. But I always ask them before playing an excerpt, even after simulating, it's always difficult to pick a tempo or to keep that tempo or to be able to have a mental image of, yeah, I want this tempo done. But we don't do it at the first. But if they ask you to repeat, or if you ask yourself to repeat at home, it will come right. So we need a way of the first time of we play, it's the second time in our brain. And what we normally do, what I ask them is to, before they play, for example, that's why I ask, for example, the Daphnis and Chloe solo. It's just an example of a solo that everyone knows. This is adapt to everything. I just asked this one because it's just for a simple thing. What I asked them, you have your scale. No, I say in the pantomime solo, not the first part, of course, and the last part in this, but in this famous, beautiful solo, we have a scale, and normally we practice this at the 8th note to make it. Let's say after the 176, we practice this. Of course, we have to fill it in. You can fill it in lots of ways. It depends how you practice, how your professor wants your approach to be, how you want your approach to be. I normally in these kind of solos, I like to think by phrases, even or Bizet or whatever, not thinking in one or two or whatever, just thinking about phrasing. Of course, you know, to work this, but here, it's written on a way that you should fill in 1 or 2, not in 4. But we work it, we practice it 8th note to put everything right, all the rhythms right. And the first scale is about that. So what I ask my students always to do, which was what my professors would ask me, it's to imagine you go to an audition and the panel tells you to play this solo. Just take your time, because first of all, you will need time to create some atmosphere in the room. You're playing something beautiful, so and you need time to focus. Of course, take this time also to sing in your mind from the second part, from the G. So if you sing it, you have already your 8th note, which will be that scale. So what happens to lots of people, for example, I don't want to talk about the solo, but lots of people, because the scale is written in such a fast rhythm that gives you an idea that it's to be really fast. So people play it really fast and then they pick a tempo on the G sharp, which is different. This can happen. So what we do is like we pick a place. I would pick the G sharp. You can pick whatever you want, whatever fits. We're all different. I would pick this and sing in my mind just to have an idea of the 8th note I need. And now I know I can sing in my mind the scale on the right tempo, and then I play it. Of course, you cannot take 2 hours doing this because they're waiting for you, but this is simple. You can just do it a bit. So when you play the scale, you already know, and the tempo will be similar. This happens in thousands of excerpts. You can use this for whatever you want. You can use this for you can use this also for if they ask you a part of a concerto or whatever that is without, sometimes they ask Mozart without accompaniment, without piano, without. So if you have a pianist, of course you will put you an introduction or whatever. But if you don't have, and you have to play everything a cappella, like just you can use for that too. So you have, when you start, you have already it's the first time you play the flute, but in your brain, it's the second time you have an approach to it. And it will be easier. This doesn't prevent that you rush or you drag. Of course, you have to work before all of this with your metronome, all the way you do it. But this will prevent a lot that you start in a tempo and suddenly you're aware of, oh, I was so fast. Oh, I'm too slow. I have to move, because this is worse. You're moving the tempo. So I would say I don't want to put lots of more things about this, just telling you this. And for me, the most important is, since I was a kid, I had always a professor that said that The only people that don't get a place in audition is the people that don't do it, then don't take the auditions. So sometimes you have to do that. There's people that get, I have friends that are fantastic musicians that got an audition at second, third, some got at the fifth, some got at the 13, 20, whatever. It's important that you always realize that you will feel down lots of times. Sometimes you will play an audition and you don't understand why they sent you out. Sometimes you will play an audition that didn't went so well, but you go to the next round and you don't know why. So, and then in the second round you are a bit like, what's happening? Should I be here, not be here? So lots of things can happen. You can even go to a place and you don't catch your plane, your bus, your train, and you arrive late. So for me, the most important about auditioning, after all of this, it's always keep strong in your mind that everything can happen in results, because you're playing to a panel. And I've been, and I keep auditioning in one side, which is always a lot of pressure, but I've been also in the other side of the panel, and it's just an opinion. Doesn't mean that the best musician or that is there will go through. Maybe the first round it's a recording on a CD, and the person that could be the perfect person for that place will not move through that CD round, let's say. So whatever it happens, I'm just saying this, sorry, because I always ask my students, and I do it myself too. I always ask a feedback. Whatever it happens, you can get a place and they say it's wonderful, but always ask a feedback. There is also it's an opinion from other people, and it can make some light. Oh yeah, if I talked about that, or I always think it's important, because we're always learning. It's not because you get a place in orchestra, okay, it's done, ciao. You will want to move to other one, or you want to keep challenging yourself to keep growing. I think when you arrive to a point that you say, now it's good, you start go down, because the time moves forward and you don't move forward with time. So always ask a feedback, whatever, even if it is like, oh Jesus, I had auditions that I played and it was a shame, completely shame, and I was so ashamed. And I was thinking, Jesus, I will ask now what they will tell me, because it was so bad. But people always give a feedback that is helpful. They will not say, oh, it was very bad. Or maybe someone says that, but maybe they also tell you, oh, you know, it was not good, your audition, but you should think about working in your intonation, your articulation, and now you know, okay, yeah, for the next audition. So, and the most important thing for me, it's to keep strong on your mind that you will fail sometimes. It will go not so good, but you just keep moving forward and you take it. I would not say like a game that you pass to the next level or something, but take it as a challenge. It didn't went good today. I have another one next week. It will go again, and it's a learning process. Okay, I played, it was bad. What I did wrong, let's ask feedback. Let's move to the forward one. No, this is not 100% accurate, but I see lots of friends that did lots of auditions and kept going strong, kept going. Now I will reach it, I will go. Of course, they would go down, and that's where you have your family, your friends to put you up, to keep going to that. And the people that I knew that struggled more, it's the people that are really the best musicians I know, because they had to do it. There's people that get one audition and get it and stay there all of their life. Okay, it's good, fantastic. But if you keep going, and if for some reason you fail, don't think, oh, I'm not good for this, I will never go to this. You're failing because of the opinion of people. But maybe if the panel was another one, you would get it. So it's the opinion of people. It's important for feedback, but it cannot be important to get in your brain thinking because 20 people or 3 people think you don't deserve that place. Maybe if you turn to the left or the right, you go to another concert hall, and that 30 people or 20 say, oh, this is the best. So we have always to ask feedback to keep learning, but also in our minds to keep strong and keep knowing that sometimes the same musician in 2 different places in the room or 2 different days makes something incredible. I've some musicians that were auditioning to orchestras that were not so great, and they were always failing. And then they auditioned to orchestras that are huge, and they got it. And they got like very surprised of, I never passed 1 round or 2 rounds in orchestra that was not so great. And then I go to a huge orchestra just to try, and I get the place. And this can happen. So I think this the best advice I always got from my professors was that to know that in a different day, with a different panel, it could be you. You never know. There is also in all of this work, there is a lucky strike. But you have to look for this lucky strike. You have to work to deserve this lucky strike. And I think that's all. It's a bit, I hope I was not too annoying with this team. It's lots of information, and probably most of this information already know or already tried. For the ones that never did, I recommend to try it. Like what I said before, the process, it can work. Of course, we're all different. I've been with students that in classes that worked. It was really nice. Some others, we keep searching of ways of working because this way doesn't work. And you know that sometimes if someone tells you one thing, you don't get it, but then another person tells you the same thing with different words, and it makes like it's everything suddenly different. So we also keep looking for ways of telling people, like a way of this making sense, this process. Instead of saying to people, you have to accelerate your heartbeat, probably there is another way of saying that. We keep looking for it, that people, oh, okay, it's this, and this is helpful with this. So you try it, but I will never guarantee. This remembers me a bit on the Trevor Y exercise book. He has in the beginning a warranty that says there is nothing magical in this paper. You have to practice. It's like if you look to it, it's not magic. You will not improve. So you have to really practice. So I can give the advice of trying. Of course, if it doesn't work, if you try different ways, if you try to talk with your professor and even he explains in another way it's not working, don't do it. Do other things. Do the things that work better for you. And it was this. Thank you so much. I don't know if you told me that there was any question.
So we have about 20 minutes until things are supposed to wrap up. So if any of you guys have questions, if you guys want to put them in the chat, just for discussion purposes, theoretically, I can go ahead and start with a question. If you are up for the Q&A.
Yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful. So I was thinking most of us have, we work these audition excerpts forever and ever and ever, like the Mozart Concerto and all these things. And we start them really, really young in our degrees here. Like I started them like my freshman year of my undergrad, and now I'm at my master's. Do you have tips for people that as they're increasing and getting better at their instrument, reworking these excerpts again and again and again so that they continue to get better?
But let me understand the question. You just to make clear, sorry, because sometimes my English is a bit bad. That's why I tell everyone if I said something until here that they didn't get, please tell me. So the question is, like you studying and you playing an excerpt. Let's say Daphnis, for example. Mm-hmm. But then you're auditioning and you have to get it better and better and better. Yeah. That's the thing, how to do it. I would say to not just this process of audition, but to every repertoire, you will have to get back to lots of repertoire, to excerpts. Sometimes you don't play a certain excerpt since, I don't know, months, years, and then it comes in audition and like, oh, this again. I would say I don't like a lot to play lots of time with recordings or to listen lots of recordings. Of course, you have to do it a bit. Everyone knows that. But not like, I would say not like insane, because you will start catching the tempo and the interpretation like of another flutist, and then we lose the best of yourself, your voice. But I would say one of the things that helps me when I go back, it's to listen a recording that I never listened and to play to different people. Like if it is an excerpt, it doesn't have to be also always a flute professor. Let's say that in university you have 3 flute professors and you play to yours, but there's 2 that you never play. So you ask a class to also have a different opinion on that. And you also play the excerpts to, you told me you were in Oklahoma. If you go to the symphony orchestra, ask the concert master for a class, or I don't know, some musician that you like there, the principal clarinet, and tell you, can you listen to me? Because for me, this helps a lot because we get out of the flute thing. A flute is listening to another, will be like, oh, careful with your pinky, careful. Maybe a clarinetist doesn't care, or a violinist has no idea what is a violinist tonking or whatever. It will talk you about lots of things. One of the persons that most helped me in this preparation was a clarinetist. Because of this also, because he would tell me things that I would just listening to the flute science part, let's say, to the technique and these things, and he would tell me about other things. So I think if you go back and you have to pick something, play to other people to get other opinions, or to colleagues, or to a professor of other instruments. What helps me a lot, it's the people from strings, because they really have no idea what we do. I think we go a lot with the strings, but I don't think they listen a lot to us. So they have no idea of this part, but they have good advice, and they will make you think about other things. So we will, if you think like, let's give a weird example, baking a cake, you already have some ingredients, but if you pick it again later, you want to do the same recipe, but the same cake, but you pick a different recipe. You pick like a guy on YouTube that uses more flour or uses more eggs, or okay. And you do a new, and you're always renovating. I don't know if it was clear, the answer, I'm sorry.
No, that was very informative. We did get a question from Melissa. Have you ever played an audition sitting down?
Yes, I didn't chose to sit down, but for example, that never happened to me in Europe. But in US, in Philadelphia, that happened. There was a chair there, and but I was so young. I'm still young, but I was so much young, and I didn't knew that was possible. I was in US, and there was a chair, and I was in the big hall. I don't know what's the name. It's Kimmel Center, where they play, right? I don't know. No. I don't know, you probably know. I don't remember the name, but in the big hall, there was the curtain in the middle. They were in the middle of the hall. And there was a chair there. I saw some people played in the chair, because I just knew, because the manager of the orchestra then told us, you can play sit if you feel more comfortable. I didn't do it because I actually feel, I play in orchestra lots of times sit. But this is a bit bad to say, but I feel more comfortable playing standing. Like I practice also standing, sit. Of course, we have to do that. But I prefer to play stand. I don't know why. So I'm so sorry I cannot help with. I don't know if the question was like how it is, or if it is better or worse. I just think if you feel more comfortable, it's the important. It's like picking a flute or picking whatever. Just pick whatever works for you. There is no bad position or standing, or of course there is bad position if you get a weird posture, but just I would just pick what feels more comfortable. In my case, it's standing.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that it was an option. So, I mean, we would never play this music standing up anyway. I mean, none of it. You know, we don't get to stand up in the middle of performing Daphnis and play the solo and then sit back down. So why not practice it in the way that you would actually be performing it? So yeah, it was good to know that there are chairs around if you choose to use it.
I would not say that always, because I just saw that once, but some places they put chairs. So of course you can practice the whatever you're playing. Also standing, it's a way of simulating, and also sitting. It can happen, but the thing is, it's optional. I would always pick the way it fits better, but I never saw an audition that they demand like you have to play seat or have like. There is one thing that happens often. I would not say in all of Europe, but I know that in France happens a bit that the last round sometimes is with orchestra. So let's say that in the last round we have to play 2 or 3 excerpts. It's in orchestral rehearsal, and they go from some bars before, and you have to play with the group the final round, and there you have to play seat. So it's always important to be a bit comfortable, and also you are applying to a job that your life will be most of the time seat playing, because there is also the option of if you're playing early age music, if you're playing Baroque music ensemble, or if you're playing a chamber music concert with orchestra that you have a woodwind quintet or whatever, maybe they can play standing, but most of the work is seat, and some final rounds you have to play with them. So I would also, it's a good idea to recommend to also be aware that you can be seat.
Great, great. It doesn't look like we've had any more questions, so I'll lead in some more discussion. This might be a bit basic. What are your favorite and least favorite excerpts?
This question is so tricky. It's so I already been asked that. Of course I always think that if you can, this is very awkward because if you can choose excerpts, which doesn't happen in professional orchestras, but it can happen in some festival. They can give you options of excerpts. Of course, you would pick always your favorites because that's the ones you will get more better result and more out. For my favorite excerpt, one that I feel that I can show something more, at least I feel that maybe they don't like it. It's a Debussy Prelude, because it has a very deep connection, because it was the first time I sit in to play with an orchestra in not with orchestra but in the university that I played as. It was the first time I played as principal flute, and it was to play that. And of course I was insane nervous, but the way I worked on that time with my professor, that and the concert was good, so I always have a good remembering of that concert. So I always felt this excerpt is something special because it was a special moment. The excerpts that I would love to avoid, I have a big list, and I think everyone has. If I had to avoid an excerpt, I normally don't like to avoid excerpts that are really hard. For example, Saint-Saëns, it's hard, or the Firebird, Stravinsky, or we have lots of excerpts that, Domestic Symphony, Strauss and Rosenkavalier. All of this is like, oh, if I could avoid that. And normally I like to take the challenge to accept that. But one excerpt that for me, I work a lot, and I would say that it's not about struggling because it's not hard, but it's hard for me to be clear what it's not what I want, but to be in a way that I feel the panel maybe will like this, or I can show something and I feel more. And this is very awkward. I would say it's in the it's Beethoven's Third Symphony, our solo. It's not difficult. I already played in auditions and I moved forward, but I always don't. I love the symphony. I love the excerpt. It's amazing. It's beautiful, but I always struggle. Like, I want to do more, but then it's too much. Then I want to do this. Then I want to put it more direction, but then I lose the elasticity of phrasing. Or so it's excerpt. It's not hard. I could tell you, oh, if I could avoid Saint-Saëns, everyone would love to avoid this one. It's so hard, but I prefer to go to the challenge, to go like, oh, it's a challenge. It's hard, but it's a challenge. This one, I have more excerpts that feel like this. For example, In the Meat, that are not hard, and I already played inside of the orchestra these things, and it was nice. But I always want to do more. I didn't find my own voice in that. I didn't find my interpretation. I keep, I would not say struggling, but keep searching and searching because I want to make it special, but I didn't find a way. So I just keep practicing and play for people. I think everyone has excerpts like this. And the thing is to keep searching, play, to get different feedbacks and keep improving.
All right. It looks like we have another question. Which way do you prefer when you teach orchestral excerpts? To learn the needed technical skills by practicing the excerpts, or learning the technical skills first and start to learn the excerpts after?
You notice you can do the both at the same time. I use a lot. I will say now something that is more on the pedagogic way, and I don't want to get a lot in there because I'm not a flute professor. As I told you, like my students in my studio, they all have amazing professors. In Stuttgart, in Leipzig, in Germany, they have like, so they do all of that work with the professor. But I like to use a lot, and I learned this with a friend, to use the excerpts as exercise always, but not playing on the exercise side, sorry. You would pick a Mendelssohn scherzo, and you can make that your articulation exercise, of course, with the music idea. So I would say that it's a bit of both. You have to master some techniques to play. Of course, you have to master a bit your double tonguing to play this, for example. I was talking about this one, or your breathing for this, or your intonations for that. But I use a lot, and this is a very personal thing. I use a lot the excerpts as not as exercise, like sounding as an exercise, but to fix things. For example, sometimes instead of picking, you pick, like, I would just give an example. You pick 30 minutes of your Reichert or your variations on element, the Moïse book or École d'Articulation. Instead of picking this exercise, you can do the ideas they have there, and all of these mixed articulations that get us crazy with Sanson or with whatever you want. So sometimes I like to do that because it feels more musical, and you also are practicing the excerpt. So I don't know if I was clear, but I really enjoy a lot to use the excerpts also to fight techniques. But I would say at the same time it's complicated because I don't do that with the students. I do that because I like, it helps me, because the students already bring all of the mastering skills. They bring them. I'm really lucky because they have really wonderful professors, and they don't bring lots of problems. For example, if there is a problem in intonation, I will tell them, oh, this is a bit flat, or this is, and they just, I don't have to tell them how to do, because they already have a professor that is brilliant, and which I'm really thankful for. And I learn a lot with their professors also. So yeah, it's that. But I really think you can do it, so you're fighting two things at the same time, and also you have lots of fun. Please tell me that you have more fun playing Mendelssohn scares with single tonguing or with K or with whatever you want to do than to playing a scale. Of course, you have to play the scale with that way of music to train that. But of course, it's much more nice. That's all what we all love, to play music, not to play the scale or to play. Of course, we have to. We have to play long tones. We have to, of course. And we have to be happy about this. We have to feel, oh, now I see. Oh, this is my friend that wrote. It's Mate. I send him big regards. Mate is a wonderful flutist. He plays in Gewandhaus Orchestra in Leipzig, in Germany. And one of the persons that most helped me also with excerpt, with these kind of things and ways of mastering excerpts, it's him. I'm sorry for the advertisement, but if you are auditioning and you're looking for a professor, this guy is wonderful, wonderful. I'm so sorry I had to do this advertisement because I just saw now in my screen. Sorry.
Well, that is wonderful. Thank you for all the amazing information you've shared today. it looks like we have about 4 minutes if you wanted to say anything. Oh, it looks like we do have maybe one last question if you have the time.
Yeah, of course.
Okay. When you have to perform different excerpts in the same audition, how do you deal with the quick character changes that you need to do? Good question.
Sorry, with the what? How I deal with what?
The quick character changes between different excerpts.
Oh, in audition.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I was telling before. This time that you take to focus and also to put the I said, like, oh, you think, oh, this is the 8th note I need, or this is the quarter note I need, or whatever. When you sing here, you have also the time. I always think that you have to take a bit of time. It's not just about focusing in this thing to think about the next character. It's what I do normally. And again, this can work for you, cannot work, because we're all different. It's they would say, let's just repeat because it was there. They would say Daphnis, and I just came from an excerpt that is insane fast, like Sansan or something, and then you have to focus. You need 3 things. You need time to focus, of course, on the next one. And what I do to get in character is to imagine what's going on. You already listen to the excerpt. Of course, when you go to an audition, you know what you're playing. You know that Ravel is not Baroque. So you know what is. So you know what's happening. So I would say that this time that you take, you listen in your mind, not just the 8th note you need to establish your scale and the tempo, but also take the time to feel what's happening. Who plays before me? Try to imagine, like, who plays before you, the sound, what's coming. Is it the beginning? You play bolero. You want to get in character, imagine I don't know the name in English, the percussion instrument, sorry, it's, but you imagine the instrument before. So you also have the tempo you're playing. You also have the spirit of what's going on, I took some classes once that helped me a lot with this thing. And this maybe is a bit, I'm sorry to say this, but maybe it's a bit stupid, a bit awkward, but I like a lot cinema. So when I watch movies, I really enjoy to watch not just the movie for eating popcorn or looking through the window, but how the characters change. Of course, you have to watch movies with good actors, but how the characters move, change. And when I was in Vienna, when I was 17, 18, I was studying with Wolfgang Schulz, that already was the principal flute in Vienna Philharmonic, and already died kind of lots of years ago, almost 10 years ago. And we had a section of the university that had a drama, and we had to take a subject to make more credits. I don't know how you say. And I took some to make, you have to do the subject because you need more points. I don't know what to say to go through the year to the next year. And I took some like drama classes from theater, cinema. And it was really funny because they go kind of this way. They have to imagine the situation. If you're playing a role that you're desperate because you have a debt of $1 million and you have no money to eat, you have to really put yourself on that. So what I do normally, this is a bit stupid, this transition is like this little time I have, and you can also practice this at home. I always try to get in character, imagining what's before or what I'm playing. If you're playing something from opera, if you're playing, let's say, the Magic Flute, Mozart, and you are in Papageno's moment, okay, you have the time to close your eyes and just have a brief image of, or sometime that you saw the opera, or sometime that you just create a mind image, sort of like an image in your mind of this guy that is a bit, I would not say insane, but funny, like with his dressing or something. So you have this clear, you think about your tempo and you go. Of course, you have to do this, I would not say fast, but you don't have all day to think. But this idea of whatever you're playing, you just imagine what comes before, the texture of the orchestra. You just breathe in, breathe out calmly. If it is an opera, imagine the aria you're playing. What's happening? Is someone killing someone in the stage? Is someone just making fun of someone? You can have this. I remember once in audition, because of this Papageno thing, and sorry for being so long in my answer, that I was imagining this thing, and suddenly when I look forward, I got a really insane I not insane, but I got like I wanted to laugh. I wanted to smile and laugh because I was imagining this, and then I was like, okay, we're in audition. So it was a bit too much, but it's quite nice to do that. And it's something that actually I forgot to tell before that should be practiced at home, because there you don't have 2 hours to do this. You have to think about what you're playing, focus, okay, the tempo will peak, so it's always the same. And at the same time, you have to think what's happening. I would say you don't have to pick actually what comes before you. For example, in Daphne's Employee, you don't have to pick what's happening right before the solo. You can think about whatever. You can think about other Ravel pieces. For example, for me, there is a piece from Ravel that my professor would play a lot, and then he put me playing when I was studying with Jacques, which is the sonate posthume for violin and piano. It's beautiful. So if you don't know, you can play it in the flute, and it's beautiful. It's insane beautiful. For me, it helps a lot to think, for example, not just what comes before the tempo, but also in think the beginning, the first entrance of the violin. It's like a recitativo, like a solo part, and it's like, so whatever comes nice to your mind. If you think like, imagine the Grand Canyon, why not? Like whatever it's comfortable for you.
Well, that seems to be a great way to wrap up. Is there anything that you wanted to share before we wrap this all up?
No, I don't know if there are no more questions. I'm sorry I finished talking about the Grand Canyon, which is weird, but
That's
you understand
okay.
the
Yeah.
relation, which is you get in character, whatever. I saw once, there are lots of, I like to see lots of interviews sometimes, like when I'm bored, like traveling by train. Saw interviews with actors, and sometimes they tell you that they have rituals before they get in character, and some of them are completely insane. They have to get in a character of someone that is a psychopath, and they start dancing, like, or if you see Joaquin Phoenix when he played the Joker, you would do such weird things like to get in character. And that's why I start thinking, like, whatever you want to imagine. It can be the piece, what comes before. It can be another piece from the composer. It can be a smell, a perfume that you like, or a flower that you like the smell. If it gets you there, I always tell my students that I really don't care what they're thinking or doing on a good sense of way. If it works for them, it's nice.
Amazing. Well, thank you for sharing a wonderful presentation and all of the experience that you have. I certainly benefited, and I hope everyone else did too. But that seems like a great way to wrap up.
Thank you so much. There are no more questions. If there are questions, you can. I know we're not in the email. I don't know. I was saying to reach me, to write me, or in social media or in email or something, if there are some question that comes out, or if something was not clear, because I know it's a bunch of information. And you can trust me that I'm not the most clear person talking in English. Sorry.
Well, you have a website, correct?
Oh yeah, but it's completely. I would tell you to, if you reach me, to reach by social media, because unfortunately my website is completely out of date since like 5 or 6 years. It's my fault. It's not. It's working. There is a website, but all of like curriculum, contact, it's not working because it's my fault. I have to take care of that. With the COVID situation, I just dragged it. I think we all did a bit of that. No, just dragged the situation.
Well, okay. So socials. If anyone has any questions, he has what socials do you have?
You can find me on Facebook with my name, and Instagram too. So if someone has a question, or you can just, I don't know if people register by email, send my email. Because I'm really sorry, but the part of the contact detail in my website is a catastrophe.
That's okay. We have all been there. Well, thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you so much. Thank you to the NFA for this opportunity of sharing this this moment, and I wish you a lovely day, a lovely Sunday to everyone, and if it is the case, a really lovely work week or practicing week for all of you. Thank you so much.